So, first off, thank you folks for all coming today. I appreciate your attendance this afternoon. Just want to give you some quick updates on what's going on.
Your first name, last name, spell both.
Of course.
And your title.
My name is Lieutenant Carlos Oropeza. That's C-A-R-L-O-S. Last name is O-R-O-P-E-Z-A. With Aurora Fire Rescue, I'm in the Public Information Office. We're here to update you here on the fire at the corner of Colfax and Peoria. I want to give you the latest. Right now, we're still currently in an operational phase. We are fighting active pockets of fire at this time there. As a result, we do have apparatus deployed, and we'll have the streets shut down for the foreseeable future. We don't have a definitive timeline on when they might open up again. So, as far as the power to that particular block, it is currently off. All the utilities are shut off there, including water, power, gas. However, as far as the neighboring businesses, I don't have any information on that at this time. Secondly, we've commenced drone operations to help us with some of the operational concerns there, looking for hot spots, taking some thermal cameras, trying to identify where we might need to put more water there, as well as starting a preliminary investigation at this time. There's so much damage and significant collapse hazard there, we haven't actually sent in any personnel for the investigation. Lastly, there's been questions on whether or not this fire is connected to one that we had earlier this week at Addison Court. All we can tell you for certain is that both buildings were under construction. We don't have any other information other than the Addison Court fire is being investigated as a potential criminal act at this time. Lastly, I wanted to thank all the different neighboring agencies that were able to come out here for their professionalism, their assistance. They were outstanding. We couldn't have done this without you, without your folks' help. So this time I have some time for some questions from anybody.
Lieutenant, can you tell us if there's any indications at this time how it started, or can you tell us the circumstances that were taking place when it started?
Unfortunately, we don't have any of that information right now. Like I said, the building is still an active fire scene and a significant collapse hazard, so we haven't been able to get anybody in the actual building itself. Yeah, so.
And do you know if there were construction crews on site when it started?
Initial reports are that construction crews were in the building and quickly evacuated there. So crews started, made entry for initial fire attack, but then quickly it went defensive, which was a pure external fire attack mode rather than what we typically do, which is an internal fire attack, trying to aggressively get ahead of fire there. But by the time we were able to get on scene, we had to change our tactics.
Where were those crews, and have your investigators been able to talk to them? Have they given you any ideas?
They've been able to talk, but I don't have the exact information on where they were located exactly.
Is there any connection in the ownership between this fire building and the other?
Not to my knowledge.
So since it's a possible collapse, how do you get anything in there to test it? Do you have to send in a robot, or how do you test all that?
We started drones there, and the drones have thermal imaging cameras on them there, so we can kind of see hot spots. But the plan going forward here in the next couple of days is probably going to require heavy equipment to actually knock down the remaining walls there. We've actually had some collapse right in front of you. If you see this very corner there, that was a collapse a couple hours ago there. So we're still worried. We're not getting anybody in there until we can safely access the building.
Where are the hot spots that you know of so far? Are they like deep inside, or where are
They're all over. So when a building's being constructed, there's no drywall, there's no doors that are shut there. There's plenty of open voids, and fire is just going to get inside everywhere there. So really everywhere, unfortunately.
Here we are almost 48 hours later, or maybe we're past 48 hours at this point. New construction, can you guys say what's actually burning or continuing to burn at this point, all these hours later?
So with new construction, all the bare wood, whether it's plywood, 2x4s, all the different building components there, that's what's catching fire, and that's what's burning for the most part there. So it doesn't have furnishings in there. You're not dealing with drywall. So because of that, all that stuff catches and burns a lot more efficiently than you would something like drywall.
Have you been informed of what kind of work is going on at the time?
Not the specifics of the work, just general construction as far as we were told.
At what point do you determine if, I mean, it looks like a total loss. I assume that it is, but is it a total loss, and when do you decide if the building is condemned?
That's all part of the investigation. So if there's anything that can be salvaged or the owners are interested in salvaging there, we'll make them aware there. But through the investigation process, they'll kind of identify what is usable there, and then obviously the building department will have say in that as well. But that'll be further down the line. My last conversation, the investigation is anticipated to be at least a few weeks.
And Lieutenant, do you have any idea about the number of businesses that are being impacted by the lack of utilities?
I do not at this point.
Was there gas going into the building when this fire happened, or when they had to turn it off?
Yes, to my knowledge, all the utilities were being fed into the building, and they are shut off at this point.
And are there any residential areas impacted by this, or is it limited to businesses?
Really, the building itself is the only residential area that we were able to notify an impact there. I know that during the initial parts of the fire, there were embers, and it was running off into the kind of some of the neighborhoods, and we were addressing that with exposure groups and whatnot there. No other buildings, to our knowledge, in adjacent neighborhoods actually did ignite.
To add to Dan's question about the gas lines, do you know if gas lines are being installed in the building to the upper floors?
As far as the specifics of where it was at the construction, I don't have that information there. I can assume just from preliminary there, but the specifics aren't. We don't have that there as far as where they were at.
And to clarify, there are gas lines that were going into the building somewhere, right?
Yes, sir.
Were the construction crews using portable heaters?
We don't have that information right now, and if they were, that's all going to be kind of part of the investigation. Okay, so I don't want to speculate on anything.
What's your biggest obstacle at this point?
At this point, it's going to be the size of the building and accessing those hotspots. Just because it's not at a point where we feel comfortable making any sort of entry.
Any idea how long it'll take before those hot spots cool down long enough so that the investigation can move forward?
That'd be all speculation at this point. Yeah.
With the hotspots, how much of is there a possibility of a bigger part of the structure rekindling?
Absolutely. That's always what our primary concern is any sort of rekindling there, any sort of fire in adjacent spaces. There's stuff that we haven't been able to lay eyes on there, so there's absolutely a possibility of that. Yeah.
How much is there potential to spread to adjacent structures?
Not much. Most of the building itself is self-contained there, and any hotspots have probably occurred underneath what's already collapsed there. If you go actually to the south side of the structure, you'll see that the majority has kind of collapsed in on itself. And you can also see just the amount of heat there from the effects of what happened on the concrete facade, on the concrete portion of the parking structure.
And Lieutenant, what about the traffic? How long will Peoria and Colfax be shut down? Is there any way to tell?
No, I don't have any sort of way of being able to tell that. I can tell you, we anticipate on continuing chasing these hotspots probably another day or so, at least, and then kind of dealing with the collapse hazard from that point on.
So people who live around here, obviously you can smell it and taste it almost. Is there any concern for people with respiratory problems or smoke like that?
Yeah, there absolutely is. Obviously, Colorado, it's a very common area for people with respiratory problems to relocate to. If they do have any sort of concerns, anything that's acute, and feel like they need assistance, we're still, fully operational and running any sort of emergency call. So if they need anything from us, we're happy to help with any sort of EMS and transport they might need there. So it is a concern. Cool. Thank you folks for coming out. Appreciate you.
Lieutenant,